The last patient out is a boy with a measured, unhurried walk, a walk that screams the opposite of jellyfish. He wears one of those baseball hats with no logo, just solid black. He's definitely new. I would have remembered him for sure. His head is bowed so I can't see his face. Two techs follow close behind him. Move it along, Chase, one of them says. He doesn't turn around. His only acknowledgement is a slight tilt that brings his head up and makes his eyes level with mine. They are blue, the kind of blue that is so light it makes his face look pale. A long scar runs down his left cheek from a razor blade, a knife, something sharp that can cut deep. Despite the scar, he's not bad looking. If he wasn't so banged up, he would be out of this world hot. If anything, the gash tempers his beauty, makes him seem real and maybe a little dangerous. He wears a thin t-shirt and jeans that ride low. He's noticed me staring at him. His eyes crinkle at the corners. He laughs low and sexy, takes off his baseball hat, and smooths a hand over his mussed blonde hair. My cheeks grow hot with embarrassment, and the guilt I feel is almost as immediate as my body's response. For one split second, I forget about Jason's cinnamon breath, the curve of his mouth, and the touch of his callous fingers. All because of this stranger whose eyes make me feel all lit up inside. I bite the inside of my cheek hard. The boy passes me, leaving behind the scent of clean laundry. The door beside me opens, and the nurse reappears. All right, Alice. The doctor will see you now. I push off the wall, keeping my eyes on the boy's retreating back. Just as I'm about to enter the office, he stops, glances over his shoulder, and smiles at me. Intimately, like he's happy to see me, like I've just made his day. He smiles as if he knows me, and I get an odd sense of deja vu. Jason would say it was a glitch in the Matrix. I can't seem to shake the feeling that he actually looks familiar, that I've seen his face before, that I know him too. The doctor's office is cluttered, shelves and file cabinets bursting with books and stacks of paper line the walls. It's like I've been sucked into a vortex and I'm standing in Dumbledore's office. I wish. I also wish I didn't know this office so well, but I do. Dr. Goodman stands in the middle of the room. He's young, with thin, white, wire-rimmed glasses. I always thought he looked like the kind of guy who doesn't own a TV. He holds a thick file between his pasty hands. My file. Hello, Alice, he says. He waits as if he expects me to say something. I don't know why he would, based on our past history of awkward, semi-silent therapy sessions. It's nice to see you again. He crosses the room and extends a hand for me to shake. I look down at his open palm and my hands switch inside the pocket of my hoodie. I like the way the fleece lining feels soft like a teddy bear. I remove a hand, shake his, and then quickly stuff mine back into my sweatshirt. Please have a seat, he says, motioning to an armchair. He addresses the nurse, who hovers in the doorway. I think we can take it from here, Miss Dummel. Nurse Dummel puckers her lips. I wonder if she knows that her face looks like an asshole when she does that. She gives me a long, lingering gaze before nodding her head. All right, Dr. Goodman. Donnie'll be coming back to escort her to her room. He'll be right outside the door if you need him. I'm sure we'll be fine, Doc says. The nurse gives me one more assessing glance like I'm a downed power line, throwing off sparks, then leaves, shutting the door behind her. I settle into the chair and Doc sits across from me. A heavy silence stretches between us. Doc crosses his legs, adjusts his tie, clears his throat. He picks up a yellow legal pad and pen from the table next to his chair. I'm happy to see you, Alice. It looks as though you're recovering well. I wait for him to get to the point. Usually our meetings follow an agenda, sharing feelings, exposing secrets, talking about the past. Do you know why you are here, Alice? Do you know why you've been returned to the hospital? Images surface, pictures of my great escape with Jason, spirals of stairs, murky water, a red barn at night. But the memory is like water slipping through my fist. My voice is quiet as I speak. There was a fire. Doc jots something down. Tell me about that night, Alice, that night you left the hospital. I knot my fingers in my lap and stare down at them, still unable to meet Doc's eyes. After a while, my gaze shifts toward the window. Outside, the sky is overcast and gray. A thick fog rolls in behind the steel mesh, and it's hard to see anything beyond the hospital grounds. How come it's always so foggy here? The doc glances out the window. It's because we're so close to a lake. We're in a convergence zone. Does the fog disturb you? Why does he have to answer every question with a question? I shrug a shoulder. No, it doesn't disturb me. I don't think it's weird, you know. If we can't see anything but the fog, How do we know we exist beyond it? He chuckles, and for once his hand doesn't move to scribble on the yellow notepad. That's a very philosophical of you, Alice. Perhaps you should walk through it and see what comes out the other side. I know what's on the other side of the fog. It's water, deep gray water that makes your bones shake and your lips turn blue. I know because Jason and I swam across it. He pulled me to shore and covered my shivering body with his. Alice, are you listening? I'm sorry, what were you saying? I was asking you to tell me about the fire. Doc taps the pen against the notepad. Maybe it's an act of mercy. This lapse in my memory. Maybe my brain doesn't want me to find out what happened. It's rejecting the possibility that my sister, my own blood, could do this to me. To Jason. Too bad I don't need my head to tell me what my heart already knows. I don't remember, I say. Doc shuffles some paper around and brings my file to the top. He opens it. I had the police report here from that night. I stare at my left hand, the one without the burn. I study the bitten down tips of my nails and the worn cuticles. Sally used to tell me that the white parts underneath the nails were lies. When she thought I wasn't telling the truth, she'd grab my hand, inspect my nail beds, and claim that the white part had spread. Then she'd accuse me of things. Of keeping secrets, of wanting to hurt her, of loving Jason more. Was Celia with you that night? Doc asked. What does your report say? He glances at the paperwork. It says she was. I blink and see an image of my twisted twin. The memory comes screaming back. She's standing over Jason and me while the fire blazes around us. The look on her face a cross between pity and revulsion. I feel a million things in that moment. Bad things, hateful things, all directed at my sister. Doc uncrosses his legs and leans forward, his nose brushing up against my personal bubble. I press myself back into the armchair. His breath smells like old coffee, bitter and stale. Do you know why you're here, Alice? I shake my head. All I can think of is Sully. Sully and Jason. The vision shifts and there's only smoke. I can't see Jason, but I can feel him. His hand touches my face and he whispers something to me, but the words don't compute. Jason. I don't realize I've actually spoken out his name out loud until I see the stern expression on Doc's face soften. So far I've managed to hold off on asking Doc about Jason, but now with his compassionate look he's giving me, I feel my resolve unraveling. Alice, he says my name like it's an apology. I'm afraid Jason didn't make it. Something that feels like a jagged rock lodges in my throat. For a moment there's nothing in the room but my ragged breathing. Jason, dead, gone, so final. I reach for the image of him again. I see him smiling, that crooked grin of his, as if he had just hijacked the world and was going to take it for a ride. I see us two people with the moon at our backs running with our arms open wide in love, foolish and living on borrowed time. A sob breaks in my throat. Doc reaches for the tissues on the side of the table and offers the box to me. But I recoil. I swipe at the tears and force myself to breathe evenly. Raw grief still simmers below the surface, but at least I stayed the panic attack. Doc settles the tissues back on the side table. Would you like to talk about Jason? I shake my head. How could Sally do this? I've known for a long time that she wanted me dead, was plotting my death by 1,000 tiny cuts. But Jason, she loved him. At least I thought she did. I can't imagine this is very difficult. He tries to sympathize, but it comes off as patronizing. I remembered you shared a foster home with Jason a few times. Twice. Jason, Sally, and I shared a foster home twice. A hot tear slips down my cheek, but I stay mute. I force my features back into a cool facade, a mask I'm used to wearing and have perfected. Doc taps his pen against his legal pad. I'd like for you to be able to talk to me, Alice. I know in the past our conversations have been difficult. I understand if you're not ready. He closes the file, shuffles his stuff around, and takes out a black leather-bound book. There's something new I'd like for you to try. As part of your therapy, I'd like for you to journal. He moves a hand me the journal. But when I don't take it, he places it gently in my lap. I won't read it unless you want me to, but I believe it will help you. I want you to start at the beginning, at your first memory. Just write it all out. My hope is that it will bring you clarity and a way to exercise your emotions. Grief is a powerful thing, and sometimes, if it's ignored, we can't become lost in it.